On the American frontier, life was never easy. Pioneers crossed vast prairies, rugged mountains, and unforgiving deserts with little more than a horse, a wagon, and hope. Food could be hunted or foraged, but water was a constant life-or-death concern. Streams ran dry in the summer, wells were contaminated, and rivers could be full of unseen dangers. Yet, amid the hardship, frontier settlers discovered a deceptively simple water trick that saved countless lives. It wasn't a complicated device, nor was it written in official manuals. It was an observation, a technique, a method refined by trial, error, and desperation. Today, we'll uncover that trick, explore why it worked, and show how anyone with survival in mind can still apply it today. Frontier travellers learned to read the land to find safe water. Water sources on the frontier weren't always obvious. Travellers couldn't rely on maps alone. They needed to understand the land itself. Experienced frontiersmen watched vegetation, noting that lush greenery often indicated groundwater or natural springs nearby. Certain grasses, willows, and cottonwoods were reliable indicators of fresh water. Conversely, stagnant ponds surrounded by algae or foul-smelling mud were a warning sign. Drinking from them could lead to severe illness or death. This knowledge was often shared orally, passed from trapper to wagon train, or recorded in personal journals that later informed survival manuals. For modern outdoor enthusiasts or survivalists, the principle remains the same. Observe nature carefully. Look for patterns, plant life, and signs of wildlife that point to fresh water. Animals generally know where to drink safely. Following tracks or observing flight patterns can guide you to life-saving water. Settlers quickly discovered that not all water is safe, even if it looks clean. They developed techniques to remove sediment and reduce bacterial risk without modern chemicals. One of the simplest and most effective methods was sedimentation, collecting water in a container and letting solids settle at the bottom. They would then pour the clearer water into another container or boil it for additional safety. Boiling was effective, but required fuel, which wasn't always plentiful. When wood or charcoal was scarce, frontiersmen relied on makeshift filtration. Layering sand, gravel and charcoal in a hollowed-out log or cloth-lined container could filter debris while allowing the water to flow through. This same principle is foundational in modern survival kits, but frontier pioneers perfected it using only the materials around them, demonstrating a keen understanding of the science behind it without ever learning formal chemistry. For practical application today, you can replicate this method by creating a layered filter with sand, small stones, and activated charcoal in a container. Pour water slowly and allow it to trickle through. While this doesn't remove all pathogens, it dramatically improves clarity and makes subsequent boiling or chemical treatment far more effective. During long journeys across arid lands, pioneers often faced days with only small water reserves. To extend their supply, they used a combination of solar evaporation and careful rationing. They would place a shallow bowl of water in sunlight and cover it with a clean cloth or plastic, when available, to reduce contamination. Over time, condensation formed and droplets collected for drinking. This early version of a solar still became an essential skill, particularly in desert crossings or when wagon parties were stranded. Even simple knowledge of rationing was part of the trick. Frontiersmen understood that spreading water consumption over the day, sipping slowly rather than gulping, helped maintain hydration and avoid rapid depletion. These lessons of careful observation and conservation are just as vital today, whether you are hiking, camping, or preparing for emergency scenarios. Another little-known frontier technique involved natural coagulants. Certain seeds and plant materials, like crushed prickly pear pads, yucca roots, or seeds from the moringa tree, were added to cloudy water. These plant compounds caused suspended particles to clump together, sinking to the bottom and clarifying the water. Settlers discovered these methods out of necessity, often experimenting and refining them over multiple trips. Modern survivalists can mimic this technique when faced with turbid water. Collect water in a clear container, crush a small portion of seed or plant material, stir and let it settle. Pour the clear water carefully, and you have significantly cleaner water to treat further. It's a hands-on reminder that ingenuity in the wilderness often comes from careful observation, experimentation, and adaptation. Even with the best techniques for finding and purifying water, settlers needed to carry it safely over long distances. Leather canteens, clay jars, and later tin containers were preferred because they could be sealed and transported without contamination. Pioneers learned to clean them thoroughly, sometimes using sand and water to scrub residue, preventing bacterial growth. Keeping water storage clean was as important as the trick of sourcing it, because contamination during transport could undo all the effort of finding or purifying water. Today, this teaches a universal survival lesson. Treat your container as carefully as your water. A secure, clean vessel extends the utility of every drop, whether in the wilderness, during a power outage, or in emergency prepping. What makes this frontier technique so enduring isn't the specific materials, it's the approach. Observe your environment, understand natural indicators, filter and purify using available materials, extend your supply carefully, and always maintain clean storage. These principles saved countless lives on the frontier and remain just as relevant in modern survival or preparedness contexts. By learning these methods, anyone can approach outdoor expeditions or emergency scenarios with the confidence of a pioneer. Collect water mindfully, purify it through filtration or boiling, ration wisely, and consider natural coagulants to clarify cloudy water. Each step builds resilience and reflects centuries of practical human wisdom. The frontier water trick that saved countless lives wasn't a single discovery. It was a series of techniques developed by necessity, observation, and ingenuity. Pioneers understood the land, respected its dangers, and adapted simple tools to meet fundamental needs. Today, by studying and practicing these methods, we honor their survival skills and equip ourselves to face challenges in the wild with confidence. If this deep dive into frontier ingenuity inspired you, subscribe to Echoes of Valor for more stories of survival, history, and hard-earned wisdom from the past. Share this video with a fellow history enthusiast or survivalist, because lessons from the frontier are still some of the most valuable guides we have for enduring the wild.